Mr. Preston, SBA is opposed to conducting background investigation on companies participating in SBA contracting programs. Yet, according to your testimony, because of the unique relationship between SBA and aided companies, they must have these reviews. That's what you stated in your testimony. So if they lack character, they will not be approved. The SBA does not do this with the HUBZone applicants. A company associated with the recent bribery scandal, Shirlington Limousine, has an owner with a long list of convictions, 62 pages. He has pled guilty or been convicted for crimes such as robbery, attempted auto theft, bail jumping, receiving stolen goods, drug possession, and contempt of court. How did this company, who will not be approved into the 8A program with this record, get approved into the HUBZone program?
Well, as you know, that in most of these other programs, the contracting officers at the agencies have the primary responsibility for understanding the firm that they're dealing with and their capability to provide services. We manage the 8A program. It's a very different program. It's a business development program. We have these people for 9 years, potentially 10 under your rules. It is our responsibility to oversee those companies, and we provide very extensive support of them. And so I think the 8A program is different than these contracting designations in these other subgroups.
Yeah, Mr. Administrator, help me understand this. When you talk about the unique relationship between the 8A and the agency, I thought that the agency delegated that authority in 1993.
We're delegating contracting authority to them. We
yes.
continue to run the 8A program. We continue to do their annual certifications. We continue to provide business development services. We continue to work actively with those firms in helping them find federal contracts, both through our business development specialists and our PCRs.
Well,
and by the way, the agency spends over $30 million administering this program to support these people.
If you continue to provide all that you claim you're providing, the agency is providing for the 8A programs, then how could you explain that in 2002, 2006, the universe of 8A companies were 12,262 enrolled in the 8A program, yet 93% of those companies didn't get anything, and only 7% got work.
Well,
I believe that your agency has taken, you have taken yourself out and no longer work with those companies to make sure that they get the federal contracts.
Well, ma'am, I think that data may be extrapolated from a very small sample, and we're pulling that data together to look at the full picture. We don't believe that the number's that small. And what I would tell you is we are taking many actions, so it's very important for us to, allow these people to get a fair showing in the federal contracting picture.
I hear you, but I want for you to hear me. This is your report. These are your numbers. 1999, there were 6,409 8A companies. Only 31% got work. In 2006, things are getting worse. Only 7% got work. So something is not working.
I think you need to read the footnotes in that report and understand what it says and understand the sample that it was taken from. We are going down the road of getting full data on this, but it's a heavily manual process, and we'd be happy to provide that to the committee when we get it.
Let me ask you. Would you oppose the provision that will require background check for all the companies, including the HUBZone?
I don't have a comment on that right now. I apologize.
I
didn't know that there was a provision.
SBA do not have a position regarding a provision that will help weed out criminals.
For us to provide background checks on every one of those firms that want to get a qualification for any one of our programs, would be a very significant undertaking, and I feel the need to look into it more before I give you a comment. I think I need to understand more broadly what it means to the contracting picture. Our understanding of what you all are proposing did not include that, from my understanding.
Well, we're talking about background check now, required to all the companies, and on-site reviews of those companies in the Hobson program. You have two Inspector General's reports. One that was conducted in 2003 that identified definitively fraud in the Hobson program, and then another one in 2006 where the Inspector General concluded that virtually no improvement, except that there are more companies in the program, but no improvement in dealing with the issue of fraud. You got a problem. It got to be fixed. And
Well,
if the agency is not doing it, the committee will do it.
Well, I think we've taken a number of actions since then, and I think it's also important to understand when you look at that data that when we do examinations on HubZone firms and when we ask them to recertify, there are many reasons why they don't recertify, and most of them have nothing to do with fraud. Many of these firms don't exist any longer when we go for the recertifications. Many of them aren't getting federal contracts through set-asides, so they choose not to recertify. In addition, we have taken many actions, some of which I described in my testimony, that we think significantly tighten up the process around HubZone. And I should also mention that we've met with our IG, and we are in concurrence and acting on every single one of those recommendations.
Yeah, and I heard for the first time today in your testimony that you talk about a regulation. And this is in reference to your concern on the on-site examination. And you said that that could be duplicative of pending regulation. This is the first time that I hear that you are working on regulations. If the implementation of those regulations will take as long as the regulations to implement the Women's Procurement Program, 7 years. Mr. Administrator, the 8A program requires an owner to have a personal net worth of less than $250,000 to enter and cannot exceed $750,000. The Deputy Administrator indicated that the SBA was going to propose legislation to raise this threshold. Because this concern has not been addressed for nearly 30 years, the committee intends to act. Do you believe, and say, just give me an answer, yes or no, that the current net worth limitation is out of date?
The current net worth limitation hasn't been updated for many years, and if
30.
it is your intent to provide a higher threshold, then I suppose it is.
Does the SBA believe that kicking companies out of the ADA program because they have exceeded an arbitrary net worth limitation is fair?
Ma'am, I think that we need to look at what your objectives in the program are and set a net worth limitation based on that. My understanding of the language is that it is designed to represent economic disadvantage. And I think we have to understand what we think economic disadvantage is. That's different than saying just keeping people out of the program. There's a construct here statutorily that we need to kind of work through.
But also we